So we are back for episode 2 of building the Contessa's, or putting together the Contessa's 15th century glamping setup. So now I'm going to, earlier we put together the rope bed, which is right here behind me. See, ropes. And next, hopefully sound is actually coming through. We were having some sound issues earlier. Hopefully that's been taken care of. So we are now in the process of actually making the mattress, in fact. So I have here a bale of straw, and I have here, sorry about that, my mattress ticking. And so now I'm going to show you how I stuff my straw mattress, which will be the foundational layer of my bed set up here. So the first thing we do, so I should start by saying this is linen canvas that I bought here at Pennsic last year from Carolina Calicos. No, they are not sponsoring this video. Carolina Calicos, if you're watching and you'd like to become a sponsor of the Creative Contessa, do let me know. Anyway, cheap plug over. I got this for super inexpensively. I think it was $10 a yard at most. And this makes great mattress ticking. It's linen, so it breathes. It's heavy, so I don't feel the straw coming through it. All sorts of good things about this being my mattress ticking. So it's basically, I sewed it together into a big, giant rectangle, in essence. And I did that at Pennsic last year, and so it's all ready for me this year. So what I do, first I'm going to make this into a kind of bag. I mean, it is a bag, and I'm going to position it like a bag. Sort of like the way you would prepare a bag to receive food. I'm going to back this up a little bit so you can see better, dear viewer, and I apologize if that... Okay. And so basically what I do is I actually roll it about halfway down on itself so that the outer is almost completely covered and all that's exposed is inner with this big bag now. And I'm going to now cut my bale of straw open with my handy dandy utility camp knife. And now we're actually going to shake the leaves of the flakes of straw open right into the sack. And we do want this to be fluffy because you want fluff, or at least I personally like a fluffy bed. I guess not everybody does. Obviously, if you are seriously allergic to dust, you want someone else to blow this baby for you. But once the bed is set up, the fact that there is straw in the middle here will not be an issue at all. Because there will be so many layers between you and the straw that unless you are, one of those people who dies at the merest whiff of dust, you can't detect it. It won't enter your respiratory tract at all. Fluff, fluff, fluff. For those of you who, like me, who are a horse person and have cared for horses and shaken out straw for their stalls, it's the exact same kind of idea. Or if you've shaken out hay for a hay bag or for a hay pile, same idea applies. And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, but Contessa, that's going to make a ball. Yes, it will make a ball, but then we will shape the ball. And this usually doesn't take a whole bale of straw for what's kind of, I think it's basically a queen size bed. I think. I mean, straw mattresses don't exactly come in standard sizes, if you know what I mean. And basically, as I build my way up, I raise that fold higher and higher. So it's been good so far at Pennsic. We haven't had any really inclement weather as such. There was a beautiful rain oh, really? Sorry about that. There was a beautiful rain this morning that allowed me, despite my jet lag, to actually return to slumber after waking up sharp at 1:52 a.m. after 3 hours of sleep, and my body basically thinking it had just taken a nap and deciding it was time to be awake. And so I wandered around a bit, took a walk, did some chores, planned some content for the next 2 weeks, did some sewing, and then eventually I was starting to get to grow sleepy again. Went back and laid down in my nest because obviously I hadn't made my bed yet. Literally had not yet made my bed. And couldn't get my brain to shut off. And then I heard the heaven-sent pitter-patter of rain on the roof of the pavilion. And then I fell to sleep. It was lovely. It was really lovely. The rain just shut my brain right down, and I got to sleep for another 3 hours. So I think that means I may have managed 6 hours of sleep in the last 24 hours. So excited. Well, this is apparently a small bale of straw. So I might actually manage to get all of it in here, or most of it in here. But what I'm going to do now that I have mostly a ball, I'm now going to spread it out on the bed, not the straw, the ball, with the fabric, the ticking around it. So yeah, this is a bit of a total body workout part. You just kind of shake things into place. Come here to the end. Unfortunately, there's no one currently watching to tell me if sound is coming through or not. So hopefully sound is recording. Otherwise, this is just going to be an interesting visual for people. And I'm sorry that it's upright. I'm using what I call my wax tablet to record or to stream this, and I cannot convince YouTube to let me film it horizontally on my device. So I have to apparently figure out how to do that, because obviously a horizontal view would be so much more useful for this. And so I just kind of reach in and I help the straw spread out this way. And you might say, well, why didn't you start that way? Well, because it's hard to reach all the way to the back from this angle and get the straw up in these corners. Trust me, I've tried. Yeah, I was so happy to find this linen canvas last year at Carolina Calico's. And the reason I needed it is because the original mattress ticking I had been using for years got left behind. Someone else packed my things for me very kindly, but they unfortunately missed a whole tub of things. That was all of my bedding, my blankets, my mattress ticking, everything. So I had to basically wait until California Calico's opened to be able to buy some fabric, and I was so happy to see that they had this wonderful heavy-duty linen canvas, because it's the perfect thing for it. In fact, in Lorenzo de' Medici's Palazzo inventory from 1492, there are multiple mattresses mentioned that have a linen ticking. So this just feels like extra authentic. No, wait for me. No, we'll go together. There's no particular. In fact, the longer you wait, the drier it gets. So, our encampment, we have very lovely neighbors. Where, for those of you who are familiar with the site, we're kind of most of the way down Runestone in what's called Hidden Acres, sort of off to the right as you're going down the hill before you reach the bathhouse. And it's a semi-treed area, although our area seems to be in sun most of the day. But even though we're on a slant, the water doesn't seem to want to drain very much. It just sort of sits and turns into a quagmire, which is suboptimal. And so our vehicle, our cart, is still parked here, waiting to be taken to the area where all wagons may tarry during the duration of this event. And that's a fine thing, because the ground is so soft down a little bit where the cart is, that I'd be concerned about it actually getting out of the muck safely. So yeah. So I just kind of keep distributing and making sure it's nice and even as much as possible. And you notice I've put the open end down at my feet rather than my head. I think that's sort of obvious why I would like to do that instead of putting the open end near my head. And no, I'm actually not going to sew this shut because sewing it shut will make it so that I can't easily readjust throughout the week and possibly add more straw as I sleep on this straw and maybe I decide I want more fluff. I mean, gosh knows this ticking is voluminous enough that I could get away with more fluff, so to say. And yeah, this is a bit of a total body workout. I mean, so when people make a permanent straw mattress or a mattress out of straw, they actually do this neat layering thing, which maybe some of you will actually try, but it's always struck me as a bit of a challenge to do it because you have to really kind of crawl up into the sack to get the layers at the upper end, and that's going to shock you, but it just never really appealed to me to be crawling into a big linen sack. I know, so strange. Who wouldn't want that experience? Now keep in mind, it's fluffy now. It will compact over time. Oh, hello if you're watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I am occasionally checking the comments. We're just in the process of fluffing the straw and redistributing the straw in the mattress so that it's nice and relatively even. Okay. And this ticking is so very, very big that I could actually, I could if I wanted put probably a whole other bale of straw in if I really thought I needed that much padding, but I don't really. This is actually enough. And so as I was saying, I'm not actually going to sew this. I'm actually just going to take the ends and I'm going to roll them up and tuck them under. And this means that I can easily access this, or rather, my ladies in waiting can easily access this. I hope my lady in waiting is listening so she learns what she's going to be doing some mornings. I don't know where she went. Anyway, so that my ladies in waiting can redistribute the straw as necessary as the weeks progress and I sleep on it more and more every night. So, we're on a not super steep, but a relatively steep slope here. So that kind of means that things have a tendency to want to slide down. And actually, what I've noticed, now that I've pulled the mattress up, is that we have some space down here for a little bit more straw, so that it actually fills it out. I'm actually not very tall. I'm only 5'6", like 165 centimeters, 170 centimeters for the metrically minded. So I actually don't need for this to reach all the way down to the bottom to be comfortable, but it's, you know, it's always good to fill out your space if you can. So what I'm going to do, therefore, is shift this way. So, straw mattress and its appropriateness for a Contessa. Probably not. Probably, actually based, most likely, you know, I should be sleeping on nothing but feather mattresses, maybe a wool mattress. But for Pennsic and for such events, I have, shall we say, limited travel options. So I cannot just have a pile of feather mattresses. This is much more portable because at the end of the event, I just empty the straw out, wash the mattress ticking, and leave the straw here. And all I have to do is I just fold up the mattress ticking and it folds up into a little pile of sheet, basically, rather than, you know, having four layers of feather mattresses to take home, which takes up way more room. So if I weren't flying in from across the globe for this event, and, you know, storing my things with my Lord Master Papa's things at his home and relying on him to transport them, then maybe I might go the full feather mattress route. But as it is, this is what we're doing for practical reasons. Now that we've got this all set, I'm going to roll it under again. Roll and tuck, roll and tuck, roll and tuck. Okay, and I will go ahead and pick up the camera. And so we're going to be moving, everyone. Gently, gently. And if you're watching and you're enjoying this, please do hit the thumbs up button. If you're not enjoying it, I apologize, but maybe stop watching. So here we have the ticking. Why on earth? Here we have the mattress. Okay, so we're on to the next step then. Next step is, oh, hello. I do not have a storage near Pennsic. The anti-levee with the Contessa, that's right. I'm preparing the stage for the levee. I do not have a storage unit near site. Part of that is because they're not cheap, but also because also, please let me know if you can't hear me. But also because if it's raining the day of takedown, then those things would have to go away wet for a year. Yeah, that's not good. That's subpar. Okay, so now I'm putting on the feather topper. Maybe I'm going to brush off a little bit more of the straw. Okay, so now the feather topper goes on. And actually, I have a bit of a luxury this year, so I'm going to actually add a layer. This is my old mattress ticking, and I'm just going to use this. I'm going to put this on top as just an extra bit of padding between me and the straw, because the straw is, I will admit, you can feel some of it poking through because it is straw. They're dried plants, basically. So we're just going to put this extra layer down here to provide just a little bit more cushioning between me and the mattress. Now, the great thing about this straw mattress is, one, it breathes. It is cool when I need it to be cool. It is warm when I need it to be warm. It doesn't deflate like an air mattress. There's no petrochemicals, there's no off-gassing, right? And it's all washable, which is also nice. By, of course, professional laundresses who know their trade well. Okay, so now I'm going to put on my feather topper. And I will, of course, be honest with you, this is technically just a down duvet, but I treat it as a feather topper. And it is way too big for this bed technically, but that's okay because I can just fold it in all the strategic places so that it covers exactly what it needs to cover and provide that nice bit of extra luxury that I so love. I think I bought this topper actually at Costco last year in Cranberry. It was not inexpensive, but it also wasn't as expensive as it could have been if I had purchased it somewhere else. Say the defunct now defunct Bed Bath & Beyond. Actually, okay, I think I'm going to be clever about this. I'm going to center it up and then fold those edges in towards the center so that there's equal amounts of extra duvet, of extra feathers on both sides. And then the next step will be hopefully not to knock down my beautiful reproduction picture off of the table whose tabletop got left behind, but will hopefully be joining me midweek when Lord Master Papa returns with every other thing that was forgotten. And then we'll be putting on the sheets and then a wool blanket that I use for, of course, some extra warmth at night in case it gets cold. And it's supposed to actually get rather cold here for the next couple of nights. And I love cold sleeping at Pennsic, in this bed especially. Oh yeah. And then after the bed is all made up, we will hang the red silk canopy, which many of you have seen probably in the video on my glamping setup that I did last year at Pennsic. And if you haven't seen that, I do recommend checking it out. I think it's called My Medieval Glamping Setup at Pennsic or something like that. Anyway, the thumbnail says the Contessa's Fab Pad to be clever and cute. Okay, so here's what it looks like, all made up. There's kind of like a Contessa-sized hole in the middle, but that's okay. Okay, and the straw. Okay, question was, where do you get the straw? I actually didn't say that, so that's a good question. Thank you for asking. You can get the straw at the War Room. It's $7 a bale, and it includes cleanup. So you don't have to clean it up. You just leave it in your camp, and they'll take care of it for you at the end of Pennsic. So, yeah. Yeah, any other questions? Please do keep them coming. Questions are fantastic. We'll also be using some of that straw to soak up some of the muck in our camp. And another thing I like to do with the straw is put it under my ground cloth. So I put down a bed of straw and then put my ground cloth down. And that keeps my pavilion nice and dry without the nastiness of a plastic tarp. And, you know, it's a nice bio-friendly way, extremely biodegradable, extremely sustainable way to protect, you know, create a moisture barrier between you, your ground cloth, and in this case, my Persian rugs, or turkey rugs as they're called in Florio's translation of the Decameron, between that and the ground. So that's another camping tip, another medieval glamping tip I can give you. Ground layer of straw. And for $7, that's a pretty good deal. Sorry, I was just checking. I'm not trying to look creepily into the camera. I was just checking to see if there were any more questions while I make the bed. Now my next goal is to actually make and or procure some nice white linen sheets. A second white linen sheet. I have a top white linen sheet, but a second white linen sheet to cover the mattress. Because of course, linen sheets are de rigueur, are the way to go in the 15th century and pretty much most of the Middle Ages for those who have money. For those who didn't, well, probably don't have a mattress either if you can't afford a linen sheet. You might just sleep straight on straw, actually, if you can't afford a linen sheet. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's take a look at this medieval style mattress. Fluffy, okay. I will now demonstrate the mattress. Okay, I've got to keep going. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. Fight the jet lag. Okay. Okay, so that is the mattress. And in the morning, every morning, what I do is I fluff it. Or rather, as I said earlier, I have a lady in waiting do the fluffing while I do something else like sew or embroider or whatnot. Okay, so mattress is all made up. And that turns. Now we put on the top sheet. Nice white linen top sheet. This is actually pretty heavy, so sometimes, depending on how hot it is, this might actually be enough for a blanket. No other blanket required. And then from here, we're going to proceed with the canopy hanging. And you all are going to be highly amused by the canopy hanging if you stick around for that part. That's, yeah, because my canopy seriously, and it starts raining. It's crazy. The weather here has been crazy. It's been sunny and then rains and then sunny and then rains and then sunny and then rains. And I have a wool blanket somewhere, but I don't know where it went. I literally pulled it out.
Okay, cool.
Avoid mud entirely.
So here's I think we have some hanging lanterns. We are thinking we're going to put some this side.
Okay, well, my wool blanket has meandered off. I'll find it later. Normally I have a thin wool blanket that I put here. And now comes the pièce de résistance, my embroidered bedspread. So this is my embroidered linen bedspread. And she is heavy. Isn't this beautiful? So this, as wonderfully 15th century as this pattern is, my lady mother actually procured this for me at a secondhand market many years ago for a couple of dollars. And of course it was just not fashionable, you know. It's very dowdy looking from a modern perspective, I suppose, but from a medieval perspective, it is perfect. So yeah, this is one of the favorite aspects of my bed at Pennsic. Now I have had plans for a while to make a nice silk bedspread with my arms embroidered and or stamped in the middle of it. That hasn't happened yet. It will have to wait in line with all the other projects that are waiting in line. But the nice thing about this bedspread, because it's super heavy, I can store all manner of items underneath this bed and they will not be seen. But more importantly, it helps insulate the underbed area. So if I keep my larder under here, this is a naturally cool space because it's completely blocked. The sunlight does not even touch it. And then you have the cool of the ground helping keep things cool. So, pro tip, store your larders, also known as coolers, under your bed if you have a bed like this. And then just pull them out when you need things. And I like to pull it down so that it reaches all the way to the ground, even though that's not quite center on this bed, but it's okay. No one sees the other side because this pavilion is super small. Well, it's super small for me. I know, hashtag Contessa World Problems. I can hear it. Okay. And I seem to have forgotten a pillow this year. I have a feather pillow. I will go see if I can find it somewhere. Okay, so that, let's see if I can back this up, get a view. That is the bed, all set up. And now we commence with the hanging of the silk canopy. This is where it gets super fun. Okay, so the silk canopy is hiding somewhere. Where did the silk canopy go? Oh, in here. Yep, okay. Oh, there's the wool blanket. Wow, I was so smart to put it in the chest. Okay. 2 wool blankets. Great. Well, tomorrow. Okay, so everyone, if you have seen my video on my glamping setup, then you have probably seen this canopy hanging, and you're now going to get to witness me hanging this canopy. So here's the thing. I like to use this canopy also as an object lesson in just how not UV resistant canvas is. So I made this 2011, and I made it all from one bolt of silk. The same bolt of silk, bought at IKEA for like $5 a yard. This red and this orange used to be the same color. This used to be this color. This is the top of the canopy. This is the part that's been taking a UV beating for over a decade at this point, but only more or less 2 weeks once a year. So this is how much UV gets through the canvas. So if you are sitting under canvas, and for those who've heard this lecture, I apologize, but if you are sitting under canvas, sunblock or cover yourself with something else, because the canvas is not UV proof. It will slow the UV, it will reduce it, but you will still burn, and I have sadly burnt under canvas. And let me tell you, with my pale skin, that is not good. Okay, so now we're going to hang this up. So this was made for a much bigger pavilion. And so that requires a little bit of zhuzhing to get it to hang nicely here. And I'm lazy, so I guess I left all of the walls attached. That seems to be more or less the case. Yes, the walls are still attached. That's fine. Yeah, I also, project 1001 that I would like to do is make a new one of these with all the lessons learned from this one. Anyway, let's deal with what we have. We're going to hang this up, and it's going to sit more or less kind of squarely over the bed or rectangularly over the bed, but we're going to have to kind of tuck on one side to make it fit, because as you may have noticed, even the bed does not fit properly because it's just a little too big for this pavilion. So what that means is, that the canopy definitely does not reach a perfect square above it, because it can't, because there's not enough room up there for this on that half, on that side. So, and I apologize if you heard that sniff. I'm going to see if I can move this away from me while I start again. I think all that dust made my nose run. Okay, so there is no real front or back per se. I mean, there's no left or right. There is a front and a back, not that differentiate each other from each other. You have long sides, you have short ends, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I apologize, like my body thinks I should have been asleep 2 hours ago, 3 or 4 hours ago, and doesn't understand why I'm still up and doing things. The joys of jet lag. People say, why don't you come to America more often? Because I hate the jet lag. It takes me days to recover from this crap. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just kind of lay it out on the bed in vaguely the shape it's going to be. Just a little bit that way. And if you're watching and you haven't yet done so, if you're enjoying this, please do hit the thumbs up button. Really helps with the algorithms. And also, if you are enjoying this, if you leave a comment afterwards, once the video posts in the comments, it really helps promote my work. Always leave, if you enjoy the content and you want to support your creator, always leave a comment under the video on YouTube. Comments on the videos on Facebook, Instagram, etc. do nothing to support or promote the creator's work, unfortunately. Gets the videos in front of more people, increases the creator's revenue, paid by YouTube, all that jazz. Anyway. Okay, so. And now we get somewhat creative about using the spokes up here to, you can see my hand, the spokes up here to suspend this baby. And what I love about this canopy, many things. One, it kind of creates a pavilion within a pavilion. It creates a pavilion within a pavilion. So I have a separate space that is separately but wonderfully insulated against the elements, against the cold, against the heat. It also acts as a natural, or as a mosquito barrier. For whatever reason, mosquitoes can't figure out how to come through the silk hangings, possibly because they all overlap, or the opening overlaps. So first thing I do, just to kind of get the process going, is just start hanging, and then we adjust as we go. And every year I say, I should take a picture of exactly how I set this up so I can remember it for next year. I never do that. Maybe I'll remember this year, and then I'll remember to save the picture in a place where I can easily find it. We'll see. I don't know. I love history. Why would I learn from my own history when I can just keep reinventing the wheel? So I'm just going to kind of, these ties that are built in from previous times of hanging this, I'm just going to, and I start by doing the corners actually, the opposite corners, so to say. Obviously it's all corners. I start by doing opposite corners. And then we'll adjust as needed. And I will probably end up using some of my spare finger loop braids. If you watched my first video on medieval must-haves, then you will have heard my lecture on your always having a thing of finger loop braiding on hand. Sack of spare finger loop braiding, and then you'll have pretty materials for things, but also it helps to have some string on hand as well. Did I hang this up the right way based on the old strings? Yeah, this should be fine. Okay. Okay. And as I said, there is some playing, shall we say? There will be plenty of adjustments. Usually, there'll be plenty of adjustments, but who knows? Maybe I'll get it right on the first go. But there's usually lots of zhuzhing. These canopies were actually designed to just kind of be suspended over a bed, and the ropes were run straight to hooks that were all at exact right angles. So, you know, everything was perfectly tensioned and suspended because they were also hung in a rectilinear room instead of hanging a big rectangle in a circular space, or I guess technically a dodecahedral space. Or I'm not certain, dodecahedral, tridecahedral, 13, 14-sided, quadradecahedral. I'm actually not certain what for. If you know what the word for 14-sided in Greek is, let me know in the comments. When Freya snorted, the halls of the gods shook. Oh, goodness. I mean, I guess you could compare me to Freya in some ways. I know some people fear me the way people feared and revered Freya. Some people find me intimidating. And, you know, I don't purposely try to intimidate people, but I have been told that I can be intimidating. And yeah, the back is where it gets a little tricky because, like I said, the footprint of the bed, there's not as much footprint at the level of the canopy as there is footprint of the bed. So the hanging of the canopy can be a challenge. But it looks like I'm actually on track to actually sleep in a real bed tonight under my canopy, hypothetically, if nothing goes wrong. Please do not strike me down, oh gods, for my hubris. Okay, so now I start raising things up a bit higher to try to get it where it actually should sit. And I actually have this system, or this, system. System is a very strong word, perhaps, but I have a system whereby I actually run this over multiple spokes to try to use the cross tension to keep things in place, and it generally seems to work. See, that's looking good. Yeah, that's looking pretty good indeed. More or less over the edge of the bed. Good. Okay. So I'm happy with this side. See if it stays that way and if I stay that way. But now you can see how it's starting to get a nice tension to it across this side. Now you don't want to see the back side. The back side is a mess because that part of the wall is just way too short for this. And in fact, now I'm going to go to the back side. And I even have here in the center a tie that used to be long enough to reach around that post, but I might need to get other thread to tie to that and then tie to this post to actually get that to stay up in the center, which I will do. Eleanor, are you there? Could you get me some of that, if you wouldn't mind, some of that tie you were using? And like
cotton string?
Yeah, cotton string. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to try to take you with me, dear viewer. I apologize if this is not as smooth as it could be. Oh, string has arrived. Yay. Well, we'll do that. We'll take care of the center thing first.
Straw.
Yep, don't worry.
No, but I like the smell of straw.
It's great. I love the smell of straw.
You actually think it's
Wait, is this silk?
No, it's cotton.
Oh,
no. I did not. I do have silk. I did not bring you the silk.
No, good. I mean, I love my luxuries, but
Yes, let's see. Silk string to tie.
let's be reasonable, shall we? And everyone's like, I don't know, is reasonable on brand for the Contessa? I don't know.
Yes, definitely. Reasonable luxury. Would it help if I took some weight off of this?
Yeah, probably. Let's see. I'm going to make this an extension of that.
Our wonderful neighbors were saying that they're going to put up sheet walls and that they might have some lanterns to put down the base so that we can all see where the mud is.
Oh, that's nice.
It's very nice.
That would be very nice. Yes, as I said, dear viewer, if you didn't hear it earlier, we've developed a bit of a quagmire at the entrance to our camp. It's almost like you have to undergo some kind of test of virtue just to come and visit the Contessa. Okay. Okay, so now you see we have tied that up, and that's created a nice, it's made it higher there. So now I'm going to fuss with this corner here. Perfection is not good enough, is the enemy of perfection.
I'm looking at the base. It's quite low down here at the back.
Oh yeah, no, I have to completely redo that. The back is definitely not done at all in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Yep, no.
You're converting me to straw mattresses. I officially want my own single version of a rope bed and a straw mattress.
Well, if you want a straw mattress, we can set you up with a straw mattress at this event. We can go to Calico.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we can. This, dear viewer, the beauty of the straw mattress is that it can be completely improvised at the spur of the moment. And so stay tuned for the live stream of We Make Lady Eleanor a Straw Mattress.
We're just trying to make all the things expensive. We're making sleeves.
Oh yeah, tomorrow, for those who are watching tomorrow, which will be Sunday, July 30th? Yes?
I think it's the 30th.
Yes, July 30th, we will be doing clothing clinic with the Contessa, and we'll be working on her sleeves, which don't fit properly on her coat hardie. So if you want to see how to remedy, troubleshoot sleeve arm's-eye fitting issues, tune in then tomorrow for that live stream. Okay.
Would you like me to release the tension on that side too?
No, actually. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so now, dear viewer, I'm going to take you to the back side, and this is not going to be pleasant for you or for me, but this is the ugly side, and it's kind of okay because no one sees this side. Okay, so here we are, and you're going to see there's this big sag here. So this is where I said I have to do some zhuzhing and some creative stuff, usually involving pins, because there's just not enough room here for it. It's just the way it is. And actually, I really liked how tight this is on this corner, but I think I'm going to have to redo this corner to actually angle it over to there. Yeah, if I set this up more often than once a year, I'd probably remember more of this crap than I do. There is definitely a reinvention of the wheel process that happens. But hey, now that I've done a live stream, or I'm doing a live stream, which will be recorded, maybe I'll watch my own live stream next year in preparation for doing this. Wouldn't that be funny? Dear future Contessa, please remember these things. If you are watching this, that means that you want to learn from history instead of just reinventing it every time. Yeah, I hope I convert more people to the straw mattress way. Straw mattress lovers unite. And I guess if you're really severely allergic to straw, other medievals, and if you're allergic to feathers, but you're not allergic to, say, wool, wool is definitely a very medieval mattress stuffing. Also, Lorenzo de' Medici's inventory contains a couple of straw tickings that are stuffed with linen scraps. Not linen, not like raw flax, but like they literally used all of their scrap linen and just stuffed a mattress with it. So I guess if you're allergic to straw, wool, feathers, but not linen, then linen scraps. Take all that linen cabbage you have and make a mattress out of it, For those who don't know what cabbage is, that's all your leftover scraps that you have that all of us sewists just somehow never get rid of because we might someday have a use for it, and it would be terrible to not have it if we need it someday. Right. Not that us sewists are hoarders or anything. Yes, we are. We're hoarders. We're bad hoarders.
Totally hoarders. I just take a look at my sewing room. Absolutely hoarders.
Sewists. And I'm sorry if any sewists out there are taking offense to this, but
we're both sewists.
But we're both sewists, and we know. It is just the way it is. You must acknowledge that there's a problem before you can fix it.
Well, fixing it is called sew all the things that you say you're going to sell.
Right. So maybe there's a win-win situation for admitting that it's an addiction. Sewing equipment, sewing scraps.
I've only got, like 6 vintage sewing machines, and I haven't used any of them yet.
Okay, that's pretty bad. At least I've used both of mine.
I know, but I don't know how to oil them. I'm still learning, and I've been learning how to sew.
You need to clean them. You need to clean them first.
Yes, exactly. Some of them need a lot of work. Some of them really don't need much.
Okay, so what I'm doing is going over to... So I'm going from this spoke to this spoke. And yes, I know these spokes are metal. They're not wood. Mea maxima culpa. This is technically my travel. This is not my nice pavilion. This is my crappy Pennsic pavilion. My nice one is in storage with all the hand-carved wood and blah-de-dee-blah. It's twice as big as this. There's plenty of room. I have a dining area and a living area, and I have room for servants to sleep behind the bed. And yes, I have actually had servants sleep behind the bed. And yeah. So this is my crappy little Pennsic pavilion. Ironically, I haven't gotten to use my nice pavilion very much in the last 10 years because it's spent most of its life in storage in the last 10 years, thanks to my military living. So let's see. Tommaso says when I'm assuming that's supposed to be waxed and not vaxed. Hopefully it's waxed. Waxed canvas bushcraft tube is on the horizon, which can be filled with dry grass or leaves for good isolation. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Dry grass, leaves. That also, as long as you're not allergic, obviously, to the grasses, which some people are. Okay, so I have now tightened this. I'm going to try to give it another tighten. Yeah, would I do this for a weekend event? This exact process? Probably not. That's just too much work. If I were doing a weekend event, I might do something cheater-like and make a wooden frame for the inside of it so it can just be suspended straight up. But I'm trying to do the properly suspended canopy, which they all are in Burgundy. They're all these suspended canopies. You don't see canopy beds. They're all suspended hanging canopies, which makes sense when you think about how often people, the great houses, moved their courts around. And it's much easier to move a hanging canopy than it is to move a canopy bed. Yeah. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Show you what we've got now. Yeah, look at that look at that military line. Yes, I am a military spouse. In addition to being a Contessa, I lead many lives. I wear many hats. Right. Okay, so we're now going to proceed once more to the backside and see what kind of a disaster that is. Let's go. I apologize if this is not the smoothest move. My gimbal died on the way here, and the camera that goes on the gimbal is not behaving well. Technology is punishing me for some sin. I'm not certain what it is exactly, but there it is. Okay, so here's the back, and you can see it's saggy, so we need to remedy that. Lorenzo de' Medici's inventory also features bed hangings, lots of bed hangings, painted and embroidered, by the way, if anyone's looking for inspiration. Okay, so I have these central ties here. I can use those to basically tie this to, this spoke if I want. But what I'm probably going to end up doing here is I'm going to get a pin, and I'm actually going to shorten the canopy on this side. I'm going to pin it in so that it's shorter up top than it actually needs to be. So first, I will go ahead and tie this tie to suspend it. Oh, it's got the really long ties, so I can do some funky things if I want to. Oh. So that means I can keep that front part nice and taut, the part that is most likely to be seen by guests and visitors peeking into the Contessa's boudoir. And then run this over here, like so. Okay, so what we have then, we'll attempt to bring you around to here. Okay, so we've got this nice taut line here. Right, that looks nice. And then back there, crappy mess. Okay, let's see what we can do about the crappy mess. The crappy mess is probably going to take some pins. Eleanor, in my Bayou tapestry bag, there's my the white sewing pouch with the blackwork embroidery on it. If you could bring me that. Okay, I realize maybe I don't need the sunglasses anymore because the sun is thankfully going away. Also, it's setting. Perfect. Thank you. And then, would you mind bringing me a glass of water?
Do you have a glass of the go?
I not yet. Oh, the mug. I've been using the mug. I still haven't unpacked enough to actually get to my proper Contessa equipment of drinking, also known as hand-blown glasses. Okie dokie. So I've got some pins here. This is my needle case. Billy and Charlie's finest pewter wares. And I use the older one as a pin case. Okay.
Glass of water.
Thank you, madam. And for those who don't know, the medieval world operated on pins. Everything, pins for everything, pins for clothing, pins for things, right? We're used to zippers and snaps and hooks. And I mean, they had hooks and eyes, but they didn't use them nearly as often as they used pins. If you've heard the expression pin money, that's why, because there was literally a separate line item in many household accounts specifically for, I think that's wind and not rain, specifically for pins. Ah, yes, okay, apparently I'm a little dehydrated. So I'm now going to take these pins and I'm going to pinch this together, and I'm literally going to put, I'm going to take it in. I'm going to put in a pin tuck. This is literally a pin tuck. Okay. So that took up a good deal of the slack. It's no longer sagging quite as badly. And now I have to make the hard decision of whether I want perfection or is good enough, because it's not quite as tight as I would like it. So, look, it's hard to have high standards, but not necessarily want to put forth enough effort to meet those high standards. That's like the ultimate curse. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. When was the last thing you heard the microphone died? Can you all still hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, just let me know, guys, if you can hear me or not. Ah, great. Okay. The mic died. Okay, what was the last thing you all heard? If anyone remembers, and I'll pick up from where I left off while I go about finishing the canopy. Okay, great. So, I was saying that people often ask me, hold on a minute, about pins. Sorry. They ask me about pins in my clothing and whether I hurt myself because my Franco-Burgundian Flemish fashions require quite a few pins, actually, to keep everything in place. And the reality is that no, I don't poke holes in myself with the pins in my clothing. It just doesn't happen. It's not a problem. And I'm confident that's just the historic reality, that for most people, pins were not an issue. Pins in the clothing were not problematic in the least. So you just learn to move in a way in which you don't impale yourself. Modern people are so accustomed to wearing clothes that restrict them in not the slightest bit that they get kind of nervous at the thought of being restricted at all. And you just learn to move differently, and that actually brings you closer to the historical people, our ancestors, to understand them, because the kind of clothing they had impacted more than just how they looked. It impacted how they moved. In certain ways, it impacted how they thought, what possibilities they might have considered, because their clothing kind of defined what they could do and how they could do it. So I don't mind being restricted by my clothing, but the pins have never been an issue. Okay. Everyone can still hear me? I feel like a damned one of those old Verizon commercials. Can you hear me now? Good. Okay, so I'm just readjusting this strap, and then I'm going to go grab my pins. And I'm going to once more do the pinning trick. Although on the back side, that's probably because that is not exactly, it's not quite what I call square. evenly distributed on both sides. The back side doesn't need nearly as much pinning as the front side, but for that, the long side is much shorter, and that will need some help in a moment here. The long side back here is super saggy. Super saggy. So have I convinced anyone that they want to build a silk canopy with hangings that will take them an hour to properly set up in a pavilion that's not the right shape or size for it? I mean, I know I'm really selling it here. Okay. Okay. This bit of twine is fighting me. Why are you fighting me like that? I should take it personally. Okay, so we do have a little bit of sag here, as you can see. I'm gonna go fetch my pins right back here, viewer. Okay, pins of glory. There we go. Okay, so about that much, and that will take most of the sag away. This is certainly better in my bigger pavilion in terms of how it fits. I mean, I guess if I were really industrious, I would probably make a new canopy where the top part fits the amount of space that's actually above the bed, and then I would just have the walls slant out to cover the bed. But who has time? You know, it's this irony that if I could afford to pay someone to do all my video editing, the actual production of the content, then I would have a lot more time to actually do creative things. But right now, I spend a lot of my creative energy on just editing videos. And I just realized that I actually threw not just the canopy, or not just the walls, but the ceiling itself, which I don't necessarily want in that manner. That is sort of the creator's frustration. If you actually create something other than the videos, then actually making the videos takes more of time than creating the stuff does. I don't think people appreciate how much time a polished video can take. You know, one of my polished video essays or my project logs, just the editing process will take 50 to 100 hours per 10-15 minute video if you're doing a good job of it, right? If you want if you want high production values. And I mean, that includes like research time and visuals and audio and script and reviewing all the footage you took, because that alone can take a long time. Okay, so here we have much less sag. I'm going to call that good enough. But then we have a super sag on the back side. So basically I'm going to have to do the same thing here. And it's going to be almost impossible for you to see. But what I'm going to do, dear viewer, is I'm going to call that good enough for the purposes of hanging the canopy for you. And I'm just going to going to kind of zhuzh it up here so you can see what the final look would vaguely be. Something has happened here. I'm going to have to reposition this, but that's okay. I just put a pin in so you can get an idea of how it looks. And then I will end this particular part of the live stream. So, this goes up here. And I actually just pin these silk walls up into the canopy. If you want to see examples of medieval silk, suspended silk canopies or velvet, they're often velvet, and I actually bought silk velvet, a bolt of silk velvet specifically to make into a new set of silk bed hangings. Anyway, if you look for Flemish art, 15th century, Franco-Burgundian art, Birth of the Virgin usually, Birth of John the Baptist, those sorts of scenes, maybe the death of the Virgin, the Assumption of the Virgin, where there's a virgin in a bed dying or giving birth, which could also be like dying. Then usually the canopy, so that's above that, it's always a suspended canopy. And take a close look at it. Look at the ingenious rope system that they have. But that rope system is integral to the actual curtains, because these hangings in the originals are actually on rings, and they're attached to the rope that runs on the inside and comes out on either side to tie it off to spikes in the walls. And so the canopy, the hangings actually hang from those ropes, and you can just open and close them like a shower curtain. And often, like on the ends especially, they're kind of bundled up really neatly into this neat hanging bundle for daytime use, and then at night they're let out to completely create the room within a room effect, or in my case, a pavilion within a pavilion effect. Yeah, the problem is I don't actually make hardly any money from these videos, and I certainly don't make enough to pay someone to do the video editing yet. Maybe someday, but I'm definitely, I think I make, the comment was, the irony is that I have a tech-savvy computer whiz friend living in Philadelphia. The irony is, the irony is that, no, I think between Patreon, the one YouTube member I have, and the YouTube revenue, I think I maybe bring in $100 a month, maximum $120 a month from all this video content. So that's definitely not enough to pay anyone to do anything. Anyway, so if you look at those paintings, you can actually see examples of these, and that's how the walls on those are actually suspended. The problem with that is this situation is I don't have that kind of rope system, and I can't really have it in here because of all of the space constraints. So I just pin the silk walls to the canopy, and this is just one layer of pretty light tabby weave silk. Sorry, I had to think whether it was twill or tabby. I'm not tired. Tabby weave silk. So it's just fine to pin it to this much heavier canopy. If this was silk velvet, I don't think I'd be pinning. I think I'd have to come up with a different solution, ties or something like that. Oh, yeah, good question. Does it make it hot to sleep? No. What's great is it insulates either way. So if it gets cold at night, it keeps it warm, so it keeps the cold air out. But then when the sun hits my pavilion, I have an insulated space of cooler air that is not heated up by the sun, because the sun doesn't hit this, the sun hits that pavilion. And so I actually have a nice insulated space, so it's perfect in all weathers. It's absolutely perfect in all weathers. So if I want to take a nap in the middle of the day, I drop the walls, and then I can go into the darker, cooler space. Yeah, it is pretty great. No, it's a mosquito net, it's insulation, it's luxury, it's all these things combined. And if, God forbid, my ceiling were to spring a leak, then this will definitely keep the water off, because this thing, it's lined in a heavy brocade. It's an upholstery backed brocade. I made this a long time ago, right? This was just supposed to be a test piece, actually. I never got around to making the final piece. It's in planning. It's on the slate. But anyway, because it's upholstery backed, it's rubber backed, which means that water will not penetrate at all. So if, God forbid, my ceiling were to spring a leak, it would not get through onto my bed. So, bonus. And actually, if it were a real silk velvet, probably would have a pretty similar effect at helping keep out water. Most fibers would. Most natural fibers would. Yep. Okay, so this, dear viewer, is the general look of the thing. with it down. I'll just kind of try to back it up. Do a little sweep. Start over at this end. And then we go to this end. All right. And then, let me show you what it looks like up. So I have my ladies in waiting in the morning. There. I have them come in, and we just curl this up, curl it up, curl it up, curl it up, curl it up. And we just pin it up like that. And then you have this pretty canopy. Ignore the messy back, I'll be finishing that. And then, you know, you have this lovely view from the outside, and I like to leave my pavilion open during the day so that everyone can see my glamping setup. Obviously, this also will come with some tapestries. I'll clean out the straw. There will be trunks. There'll be a tablecloth. There's more to come. This is definitely when you're done, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, are there any other questions or comments before we part ways for the nonce, dear viewers? While I let you take a moment to ask any further questions, if you feel so inclined, do remember after this actually finishes to go and leave a comment under the actual video. It really helps push the video. Also to hit the thumbs up under the posted video. And if ads run and you really want to support my channel, and I apologize, this is so fast to say, but people appreciated me telling this. If ads run, if you want to support my channel, let the ads run, don't skip them. And that actually gives me exponentially more of the ad revenue share than if you skip the ads. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I've got to say these things though. Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Tommaso. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Lorelai, if you're still there. And I'll be doing a live stream probably tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow will be the clothing clinic with the Contessa. We'll be focusing on arms eye issues. So definitely there will be that live stream at some point tomorrow. I don't know when. Stay tuned. There'll be a notification about it. Okay, guys, have a great evening, afternoon, morning, night, wherever you are in the world. And until the next time, stay creative. Thanks, everyone. Bye.